everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jalak Shahajwani. I'm the founder of Diam Beauty. Diam Beauty is a PETA certified vegan and cruelty-free makeup brand that creates products that are skincare infused. We're trying to make products not just for the Indian population, but for the Indian weather too. Now, I'm not gonna lie. When I was asked today to speak with the theme, I think, therefore I am, I didn't really know how to connect it to my journey. I also am feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome, because me in a TEDx talk, what could I possibly say to inspire you all? But then that's what got me thinking. Maybe the doubts, the uncertainties, and the questions, that's what reveals who we truly are. So today, I'm gonna tell you about my not so straightforward journey and how I started the company and the lessons I've learned along the way. Now, if you think I have everything figured out, spoiler alert, I really don't, but this is just what I've learned in the past few years. So I will tell you from the beginning. I grew up in Antwerp, a small city in Belgium. And I was that typical nerdy student, you know, the one that raises their hands when the teacher asks a question, whose life is determined by grades and achievements. That was me. I know, annoying. But when it came to deciding what course to do for university, I decided I'm up for the challenge. So I decided to do chemical engineering. Spent 3 years doing it, only to realize I absolutely hate it. This is exactly what I don't want to do. So I did what any good Gujarati girl would do and decided, let's do a master's in finance and private equity. Again, continued to do that, only to find out I hate this even more. It felt like I was in a rat race. I was trying to make these big structured dreams mine when honestly, it didn't even align with me. So that brings me to my first lesson. It's okay to pivot. Now, I thought life is a straight line, but in reality, it's one of those squiggly lines you draw in your friend's textbook or when you're on the phone with someone. It's okay to make twists and turns until something truly clicks. When I moved to India, which was right before the pandemic, the job market was horrible. I was getting rejection after rejection. That is, if I heard at all. 0 offer letters. I felt like I'd spent 4 years getting degrees from some of the best universities in London, only to end up back in square one. I had no idea what I was doing with my life. But the beauty about having nothing to do is that it gives you the chance to think about everything. So, in coronavirus times, as we all did, in between baking banana bread and making Dalgona coffee, I found my solace in my beauty routine. The only hiccup, every single product that was part of my routine was unfortunately not available in India at the time. I had to ask my family traveling every time, can you get me this, can you get me that? And that got me thinking, how can my skin be exotic enough to only find products in Europe? It made me realize that India, home to over 1 billion people, was a beauty industry was overlooking. And that's where the seed of Diam Beauty was planted. That brings me to lesson 2. Just look at what's in front of you. Now, some of the best ideas may be hiding in plain sight, and you just don't know it. The idea of starting a beauty brand was slightly intimidating, and it felt like I was overachieving. I felt like I was competing with brands that have been around for decades, if not even a century. And I was in a race where all the other players had a head start. And I was kind of just jumping in after they've already reached the finish line. But that's when I realized it's okay to coexist. The void that I was trying to fill was something that they were overlooking. So it was personal. It's not like I was competing with them. And I had no option but to give up. So I continued. And that brings me to lesson 3, just begin. Now, unfortunately, there's no guide on how to start a business or how to create a brand or how to be an entrepreneur. We kind of have to just dive in the deep end and figure it out. So that's what I did. And of course, looking around, I knew there'd be hiccups in the way and I knew there'd be challenges. But did I really know what I was in for? Absolutely not. Let me tell you what actually happened in the first year of business. A few weeks before launch date, my first manufacturer decides to scam me. Feels like the rug below my feet was completely pulled. And everything that I'd worked for completely jeopardized. What was supposed to be a simple business deal turned into lawyer meetings and police station visits. Now, I didn't expect that. I thought I was entering the glamorous world of beauty, but no. However, I wasn't gonna let one incident or one occasion decide what my career is gonna be. Although it felt like at the time this was a test and a sign of me to stop, I knew I had to continue because the vision was a lot larger. And so, as a young woman entrepreneur in India, as many of you may have seen or dealt with, you constantly have to prove yourself, whether they don't take you seriously because of your age, your gender, or sometimes even both. I knew that that reason is going to be why I had to push harder, and it motivated me. Because if they weren't going to take me seriously because of the way I looked, I'm going to make sure that my work made them take me seriously. So that brings me to lesson 4. Failure isn't the opposite of success. In fact, it's part of the process. Now, I was under the delusion from reading all those books and movies that, success comes when you work hard and everything else just kind of falls into place. So wrong. This first experience with the manufacturer taught me so much more. Of course, it taught me how to vet suppliers, ask the right questions, get into legalities, but more importantly, I learned the importance of kind of building relationships. What I wanted was not one product. I wanted a long-term vision and long-term relationships with people who could help build this vision come to life. And this wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had the experience with the manufacturer. Another thing I learned the hard way, for anyone who knows me, knows I'm a people pleaser. Unfortunately, that doesn't work in the beauty industry. DM Beauty isn't a celebrity brand or an influencer brand. It's a community-based brand. So when customers come back to you with feedback, positive or negative, you have to take that into account. And I had to find a lot of grace to kind of take that into consideration and not lose sleep over it. Because I knew that if I take this consideration into mind, I will be able to give them a product that they would be happy with. And customers notice. This community that we have built is because of that. Customers have come back even after a bad product or experience because they've seen we're actively trying to change it. And this wouldn't have been possible without being able to kind of see the positive in the negative. The next lesson I'm going to teach you is the importance of having a good team. Now, I'll be completely honest, I was fully delusional. I thought I could do everything by myself. Customer support, marketing, finance, product development. It lasted 2 months until I eventually burnt out. And that's when I realized either I will be burnt out or my company will burn out, neither of which was an option. And that's when I decided, okay, I need to build a team. But when you want to build a team, you need to find people with the same vision, the same passion, and someone who can kind of offer a fresh perspective. It's not about just scaling. It's about finding people who can help you grow in the right direction. Once I found that, everything changed. Because I could allocate my time in the right places and do what I do best while they kind of handle the rest. It's the only reason I'm even able to speak today while my team handles everything in the back end. And that's so important. In a startup, people move all the time. But to create long-term relations with your employees, that's what changes the game. Because it's not just about a small picture, it's about the larger picture. And now my final lesson, I promise this is the last one. Everyone may not see your vision, and that's okay, as long as you do. I think when I started DM Beauty and I told people about it, they were like, yeah, sure, great, passion project. They didn't really see it to the extent or the vision that I explained, and that's fine, because I'm not gonna lie, I had moments of doubt, so how could they possibly see what I saw? The same thing happened with one of our products. Our best-selling product, actually. I went to 5 manufacturers, all for them to tell me, this formulation is not possible in the Indian heat, it won't stabilize. But I persisted because I knew this product could change the game. It was something that was not available in India, and the Indian consumers wanted it. So when I went to the 6th manufacturer, and he was able to do it, the best happened. Today, that product is 30% of our revenue, and perhaps the reason many of you even know DM Beauty. In fact, backstage, 2 girls even told me they have that product. And when that happens, when someone comes to me and tells me, I have your product, that's what keeps me going. And that's what makes me sure that the vision that I have is correct. And I don't need anyone else to see it because everything will fall into place slowly and eventually. So to all of you sitting out there, I didn't have all of this figured out. Honestly, when I was writing the speech, I realized half of what I did, and I kind of wrote it 2 days ago. So, it's part of the process. For you guys who don't know if you're on the right path, it's okay not to know. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to change directions, and it's okay to restart. Because if a random girl from Antwerp can build a beauty brand and give you a TEDx talk about it, imagine what you can do. Thank you so much.